If you ever find yourself working in the Red Rock Preserve in northern Arizona, there's one rule you need to tattoo onto your soul: never look toward the ridge after 2:13 a.m. I know it sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds like the kind of desert folklore old rangers tell newbies to freak them out. But the only reason I'm still breathing is because I obeyed that rule. Well, most of the rules. My name is Daniel Hale. I've been a park ranger here for 3 years. And before I tell you everything that happened, you need to understand something. People don't disappear in the desert because they're lost. Not out here. They disappear because something is waiting for them. Something that watches. Something that listens. Something that follows rules far older than ours. I took this job because my life had collapsed: divorce, debt, burnout. I wanted quiet. Isolation. A place where I could stare at red sandstone cliffs instead of overdue bills. But from the second I stepped into the ranger station, I felt wrong. The windows were boarded on the outside. The air was way too cold. And my predecessor, the ranger I was replacing, had vanished 3 weeks earlier. His truck was still outside. Keys still in the ignition. Driver's door wide open. The other rangers said he must have gotten lost. But the way they avoided eye contact made my stomach twist. On my first night, Senior Ranger Matson handed me a clipboard like it weighed 100 pounds. "These are the rules," he said. "Follow them. Every night. No exceptions." I laughed. He didn't. The clipboard had 12 rules typed and laminated, edges yellowed like they were decades old. They were the strangest things I'd ever read. Rule 1: always clock in by 6:40 p.m. If you're late, do not enter the preserve until sunrise. Rule 2: check the station windows every hour. If you see fingerprints on the outside glass, call dispatch and do not move until they disappear. Rule 3: do not respond to voices calling your name from outside, especially if they sound like someone you know. Rule 4: when patrolling after dark, keep your flashlight pointed at your feet. Never scan the ridges. Rule 5: if you see a second shadow behind you, stop walking and don't turn around. Rule 6: the visitor center door must remain locked after 9 p.m. If you hear someone knocking, ignore it. Rule 7: if you find stacked stones, do not touch them. Leave immediately. Rule 8: at exactly 2:13 a.m., all rangers must be indoors, blinds closed, lights dimmed. Rule 9: if you hear footsteps on the roof, stay away from the vents. Rule 10: if you get a radio call from any ranger not currently on duty, turn the radio off. Rule 11: at dawn, check the fence. If the gate is open, close it without looking outside. And Rule 12: never write down what you see here. Never tell anyone. Never try to understand. I thought it was hazing. A joke. Then I worked my first week. My first night, I clocked in at 6:39. Barely made it. And at 6:47, as I closed the logbook, I saw someone standing between the junipers. Not moving. Not waving. Just watching. When I looked again, they were gone. Matson told me later, if you clock in late, you meet it in person. I didn't ask what it was. The second night, around 11 p.m., I checked the windows. Long, greasy fingerprints were smeared across the outside glass, way too high for any normal person. 7 feet up at least. My voice shook as I radioed for dispatch. "Stay still," they said. The smudges slowly faded, like someone was wiping them away. But no one was there. My third week, I cracked the back door for ventilation. Bad idea. I heard my ex-wife's voice whisper from the darkness. "Daniel, can you help me?" Soft. Familiar. Scared. But she was 3 hours away. And very much alive. "Daniel, please." I slammed the door, locked it, and covered my ears. The voice still sounded like it was standing right behind me. One night on patrol, I broke Rule 4. I lifted my flashlight toward the cliffs. Just for a second. Something stood on the ridge. Tall. Thin. Arms too long. Head tilted like it was studying me. The moment I aimed the light back down, a sharp metallic scrape echoed above me, claws on stone. I didn't look again. I walked back to the station without running. Running meant it would follow. I don't know how I knew that. I just did. A month later, I broke Rule 5 without meaning to. On patrol near the old fire tower, I noticed two shadows on the ground. One was mine. The other was wrong. Taller. Out of sync. I froze. For 20 seconds I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The second shadow slowly slid backward and vanished. That night, Matson asked if I felt it. Yeah. I did. The visitor center was next. I had just locked it at 9 p.m. when someone knocked from the inside. 3 slow taps. Then a dragging sound on the floor. I checked the cameras. Nothing. But the feed cut out during the knocking. On the north trail, I found 7 stone stacks. Perfectly balanced. All pointing toward the same distant ridge. As I backed away, half the stacks toppled on their own. I didn't stay to see why. Then came Rule 8. 2:13 a.m. Everyone is supposed to be indoors at that time. There's a reason. The air goes dead. No insects. No wind. No distant animals. Just silence thick enough to suffocate. Then the vibration starts. Not footsteps. More like the earth itself shifting. Something massive moves across the preserve. Something heavy enough to make dust fall from the ceiling. The night it happened to me, I hid in the supply closet. I could feel it pass by the station. A shadow blocked out the moon. I didn't move until nearly 2:30. Rule 9 happened only once. Footsteps on the roof. Slow. Deliberate. Then a low groan in the ventilation shaft, just above my head. Dust drifted down. Whatever was up there paused exactly over me. Breathing. I didn't move for an hour. Rule 10 nearly got me. A radio crackled to life around midnight. Ranger Hale, this is Matson. Do you copy? Except Matson wasn't on duty. He was home asleep. The voice sounded exactly like him. Too exact. Daniel, open the door. Static. Why are you ignoring me? Aren't we friends? The voice warped into something stretched and wrong. Daniel, look outside. I shut the radio off. At dawn, I checked the fence. The gate was open. Not swung by wind, pulled. Bent outward like something huge forced its way through. The sand around it was perfectly smooth. Like someone erased every footprint. I closed it without looking outside. And I finally understood Rule 12, never write anything down, never tell anyone, because the moment you put the truth into words, it becomes real. Permanent. Recorded. And whatever's out there doesn't like being recorded. 3 weeks ago, everything went wrong. I broke Rule 8. I was still half a mile from the station when I checked the time. 2:12 a.m. I started walking fast. Then faster. The ground vibrated. The air pressure collapsed. The desert went dead silent. I felt something behind me. Huge. Breathing deep. Moving slowly. I kept my flashlight pointed at my feet, like the rule said. But curiosity is a poison. I turned my head, just a little, toward the ridge. Something unfolded from the rock. Tall. Pale. Too many limbs. watching me. I ran. Branches snapped. Something thundered behind me. The station came into view. Matson was at the door, waving me in. I dove inside as something enormous slammed into the ground behind me. We shut the blinds, dimmed the lights, waited. Something scraped the outside walls for 15 minutes. Then it left. And now I'm breaking Rule 12 by telling you all of this. I'm breaking it even more by speaking it out loud. And worst of all, I'm breaking Rule 9 right now. Because something is on the roof again. Pacing. Slow. Listening. And it knows I'm telling you. If you ever work here, if you ever hear footsteps above you, remember this. Never look toward the ridge after 2:13 a.m.